Hello, what's up? On this Indie 5 we once again go through 5 smaller or more indie-like releases, and we'll start with American black metal band called Vaeok. Why this is featured here, despite being rather nice release, is that this is actually the only one by these guys so far. So first release by virtually unknown band. Now what makes this interesting is that these guys are actually known for other projects, namely Nightbringer, Cult of Azazel, and Sargeist. It's a two-man band, obviously. Well, obviously, but it just happens to be a two-man band released through a World Terror Committee. Style is obviously very black metallic, considering those guys' other bands. It's very melodic in style, quite intense, very dark. Quite sinister, and overall just like taking a look at the abyss. Now all sounds very good until they that right. And well, mostly it is rather nice release. However, I have a little things to bitch about. One thing would be it's kind of a over melodic. Well, at least in my taste. Another thing is that it just lacks those hooks, which are, in my opinion, often essential part of melodic black metal. Obviously, this is not a deal breaker for everybody. For some people, this might be just the big release of early 2020. And I like to say this is quite nice, but is it great? Is it just overwhelmingly good? Unfortunately, not. This is something of worldwide looking for. It's a 4-track MCD. So in case you are not shy of overly melodic black metal, definitely check out Vaeok. There are links below, so be sure to check out the description box. Next one comes from Germany, and this doesn't even feature two members except the studio drummer. This is actually one-man band, yes, with the studio drummer coming from Germany. Founded around 2007. This is the third album by the band, and it's kind of an old-fashioned death metal. Now pay attention, this is very atypical decision here, that this has been used but red CD tray plastic. Quite interesting, to be honest, but not so easily replaced in case you just happen to break it. This one is called Awakening. It's the third album by this band. And what can I say? The cover image pretty much sums up the music. Yes, it's corpse-filled, dirty, rotten, ugly death metal. Not exactly the most simple kind of death metal, but kind of a curvy, a little bit experimental, and kind of a, how to say it, tries to be a little bit like Morbid Angel in a way, like, hey, let's get this mysterious and odd riffs here and there, but unfortunately this just kind of fails to execute it all. Nice sounding, pretty good growly vocals, but the music is just not grasping me by the balls, not by the throat, and not definitely attacking my ears the way it should be. It's more like tickling versus attacking and blasting those parts into pieces. Quite okay, mediocre death metal release, but hardly anything more than that. For old school death metal heads, kind of a must see, but just don't expect too much. Third one on this Indie 5 is actually something that I have previously reviewed, that is fall 2019, because this is actually August 2019 release. It's a Finnish band called Iku-Turso and their MCD called Storm over Isengard. Now back then I received this particular MCD, or MLP, what do you want to call it, EP, as a tape version, which obviously was a little bit different package, looked more like a demo release. This, however, is a proper CD digipack with a booklet and all. Musical style is very much inspired by the band Isengard and I guess early Satyricon, which is actually covered here with the last track. Musically, this is kind of a flirting with 1990s ways of doing black folk metal, very much once again akin to what Isengard is doing. And to be honest, not this kind of stuff is that often done, not especially well these days. And I must say, Iku-Turso really kind of nails it with this one. It's very much kind of a homemade recording vibe, giving this kind of a demo feeling still, even though this is proper CD release now instead of just a tape version. And I'm saying it's really close to being one of the great ones last year. However, it's a little bit maybe unhoned, unpolished, if you will, but definitely worth checking out, especially if you're bands like Isengard, early Satyricon, Storm, all coming from Norway. This is pretty much as close you can get that feeling being 2019 release versus 1996 or 1994, I don't know. So definitely give this one a go. Towards the end, it's time to take a little bit of a step through black metal. This is from Finland, and it's a reissue of their 2009 release. This one is called Korgonthurus, that is the band, and the album here is their debut one called Marras, which roughly translates to death, or, well, end of life. Well, and this is one that actually totally deserved its reissue, out on 13th of March 2020. It's a reissue to kind of celebrate the band's new album, Kuolleena syntynyt, which is their third and latest album, also the same release date. This, however, went originally kind of under the radar, with its release being released by a smaller label, and now we're glad to have this one back, because this kind of represents the band of its era when it was kind of a fresh and new. Well, fresh and new is relative terms here, because the band actually started in 2000, celebrating its 20th anniversary roughly right now, and this came like 9 years later, but still it's their debut album, and as such it totally deserves your attention. And why so? Well, not because of a beautiful cover, even though that's a kind of a delighting thing also, but because the music is rather good. It's Nordic black metal in the vein of quite a few Finnish names, but also remind me a lot of Burzum. Yes, when I say Burzum, I don't mean obviously all discography, considering how much Burzum has changed throughout the course, but this is one of those more atmospheric releases with very, very dark, very sinister, and kind of a very sad atmosphere overall, being even more like depressive black metal in a way. Now, this consists only of 2 tracks, and yet it's almost 40 minutes in total, so you can pretty much figure out it's quite lengthy tracks, and that's one of the problematic parts here, because in my opinion, now the tracks actually suffer a little bit, because these tracks are supposed to be just, one song basically, but then the kind of a structure of the song, that is songwriting and riffs and whatever, are just not there in the same way as you would have when the song is like 3, 4, I don't know, even 6 minutes. Now, that is not a big minus factor here, obviously. What means a lot here is that this album is actually very enjoyable, and the production here is very supporting that. And the vocals are very, very cool. They are very much supporting this kind of a dark and rather depressive nature right there. But I still kind of wished that those songs were a little bit better. But still, definitely worth checking out, especially if you now found the new album and are eager to hear a little bit more. The last, and unfortunately also the least, comes from Russia. This is Cortex Impulse with a MCD called Once in a Lifetime. Now, this is a 2017 release, so it's rather old, but I was just picking some old ones from this pile, because, as it seems, this should and will be the last Indie 5, at least for the time being. Who knows what the future brings, but from now on we're going to be doing more single reviews, and as such, this shall mark an end of an era. This is the style, what we could call the melodic progressive metal. It's a kind of hard to define genre, because progressive metal can basically mean anything from really talented and more experimental power metal even, to certain kind of a basic heavy metal with more twists and turns and can whatever. But this is actually, I think, very much fitting term for this one because it's kind of a melodic heavy metal which flirts with hard rock, and it's kind of like hard to put it in one box. And one particular reason of all that is that this is not made of good elements apart from the how the guys actually handle the instruments and the production. That is pretty good, but the vocals are rather looking for, hey, I need a vocals teacher. They are next to horrible. They're like clean vocals which totally lack charisma, and sometimes even the pacing is really weird, like as if I am like talking this way, and it's like just annoying. And also, none of those riffs are very good. Now, the whole thing, how they are put together, makes even less for a reasonable song or two. I felt I was totally just wasting my time with this particular MCD. It's really that bad. Feels like to me it's just a kind of demo, put an MCD and let's put it out. So far it's the only release by the band, as least as far as I know, and I really cannot recommend to anybody. It's that bad. So maybe this is good excuse to stop doing Indie 5s, so it will be more independent single reviews from now on, and who knows how it will turn out in the future. Lots of stuff still coming your way, so stay tuned for more Rauta stuff coming your way. Nothing else will be changed as we speak. Thank you for your time, and I hope you have a good time with some new cool albums, especially Korgonthurus. Take care.